Mm, Hola profesor, el día de hoy voy a hablar sobre mi reseña se la voy a leer en inglés, como usted lo pidió, y tomé un poco de partes de la primera película de Spider-Man, la cual es una película que le entiendo bastante a toda la serie y le hablaré sobre cómo empezó Peter Parker y todos esos progresos. Me batalla mucho el cómo empezar a hablar, um, el cómo tomar cuenta las palabras. Pero pues, aquí la tengo ya lista para usted. I chose the Spider-Man movie and I will read the review I wrote about that movie. Spider-Man review. The film takes place in New York City and tells the story of Peter Parker, a young man who lives with his uncles May and Ben. One day, Peter visits a genetic studies laboratory with his class. His teammates include Mary Jane Watson, his neighbor and love interest, and his best friend, Harry Osborn. When Peter was about to take a picture of Mary Jane, a genetically altered spider bites his hand. On the way home, Peter begins to feel ill and falls unconscious. The next morning, Peter wakes up to find that his physical form has changed, gaining strength and agility. And that vision problems have disappeared. That same day, Peter is in the school cafeteria when he realizes that he is capable of throwing spider webs down his arms and that he can feel danger. Later, later Peter has an altercation with Flash Thompson, the school bully, but the latter loses the fight thanks to Peter reflexes and speed. Motivated by his new skills, Peter tries to get money to buy a car and impress Mary Jane, so he signs up for a Western event. Seeing Peter's behavior at a concert, Uncle Ben tries to give advice and tells him that with great power comes with responsibility. To which Peter responds, no challenge. Peter the shows of for the fight in rudimentary Spider-Man suit he designated himself to protect his identity. Seeing him dress I like seeing him dressed like this, the announcer gives him the name Spider-Man. Where Peter manages to beat the other fighter without much difficulty. However, the promoter refuses to pay him a large part of the promised price. At that moment, criminal arrives at Prometheus' office and steals his money. Peter watches it happen and in, instead of stopping the robbery, lets a criminal escape. Later, Peter goes to meet his uncle Ben, but is sadly surprised to see that he was mortally wounded on the street as, as a result of the theft of his car. Uncle Ben dies in Peter's arms, and Peter goes off furious to hunt down the thief who killed his uncle. Soon after, Peter follows the suspect into an abandoned building and corners him against the edge of a large window. Upon observing it, Peter realizes that this seems assigned will let him escape into Prometheus' office. When Peter approaches the criminal, the latter's office, a file unfolds. Seeks revenge against the board of directors, asking the members wish to sell Oscorp to a rival company. Wreaking havoc, the villain appears with Spider and an skeleton and assassinates the board members. Then the Spider-Man appears and fights against the Green Goblin, who fills the place. During the fight, Mary Jane falls from a balcony, but Spider-Man rescues her before hitting the floor. During Norman Osborn's funeral, Mary Jane confesses to Peter that she is feeling for him and takes his. However, Peter rejects any possibility of age together because it can be very dangerous for her. Finally, while walking away from Mary Jane, Peter remembers Uncle Ben's last teaching. With great power comes great responsibility. And this is my Spider-Man review. Por mi parte sería todo, profesor. Esta es mi actividad, mi reseña. Y esta es la pregunta de cómo trabajaría yo esto en mi... Utilizaría todo esto en mi trabajo. This activity is explained when presenting a project when I finish my degree. Introducing myself and even explaining what my work will be about and how I will organize myself. Thank you, teacher. Esto es todo.